Hey, I'm ZombieJohnny, and today I'm going to be talking about a game that I recently unboxed. This is Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age. Final Fantasy XII was initially released in 2006, and I was standing in line on release day to buy it. I really wanted to play Final Fantasy XI and never got the chance to. Final Fantasy XII was, I feel, a single-player online style game. What I mean by that is that it felt like an MMO, but you played it single player. The way I felt when I first picked it up was how I imagined Final Fantasy XI would play. This game filled that void. Of course, when I heard it was being released for the PS4 in 2017, I was at the store the day it was released. I just finished playing through the Zodiac Age recently and decided to write a review on my thoughts of replaying a Final Fantasy classic. I started off enjoying this game quite a bit. It was fun and really brought me back to my teenage years. Just reliving some good memories made this game very enjoyable to begin with. The early game is fun, if not a bit difficult. If you're not grinding for the first few hours of the game, you are in serious trouble. With a huge lack of funds and equipment, it's difficult to make it through the easiest of areas. I found that you just have to grind, fight every enemy and loot everything. You can get a foothold after a while, but you're by no means well off. After some time with the game, they introduced the Gambit system, which is sort of a auto battle mode. You can buy gambits at a store, then equip them to a character, and those equipped gambits allow characters to perform actions during battle, curing status effects, using phoenix downs, performing magic. You name it, and they have a gambit for it. Setting them up the right way makes your life very simplistic. There were moments where I put down the controller during a boss battle, not having to worry and let my characters handle it. Along with the gambit system is the license board and job system. Much like earlier Final Fantasy games, you assign a job to your characters so they can perform different types of attacks, and of course, each job comes with its own benefits. Now, onto the license board. What Final Fantasy X did with the Sphere Grid was something interesting. What Final Fantasy XII did with this idea was a huge flop. You can't even equip the weakest set of armor if you don't have the license for it. Why? Why did they decide that this was a good idea? Someone from Square Enix approved this idea. They should never work for the video game industry ever again. Oh, okay, I figured it out. It was Hiroyuki Ito. You're no longer allowed to bring your ideas to the table. Nope, no more. You're cut. Cut from the team. Forever. Oh, shit. Well, you directed Final Fantasy IX. But this doesn't redeem you. At all. I'm watching you, boy. But with Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age, they introduced some new features. Much like Final Fantasy VII on the PS4, they introduced a speed multiplier. You can now crank up the speed and run through areas much faster. It cuts travel time in areas down by so much. I found playing the game at a normal speed was way too slow. So thank the Final Fantasy gods for adding this mechanic. I know that Final Fantasy XII is a continuation of the story of Ivalice. Final Fantasy Tactics and Vagrant Story take place in the same universe. I had played Final Fantasy Tactics, but I didn't really play it for too long, so any of the story tie-ins are falling flat with me. So having the story start in the middle of the grander tale of Ivalice makes some of it unrelatable. As the story went on, it got more and more sparse, and there ends up being a lot of gameplay and hardly any story. I felt that I didn't need to pay attention to most of the story because it was filler for in-between sections of the game. Getting nearer to the end of the game, there is sort of a boss rush area where you fight 5 or 6 bosses in a row. There is no explanation as to why you must fight these bosses, but you have to continue on with the story. Just a bunch of random monsters to drain you of all your resources. You can backtrack to an area where you can replenish any of the items that you need, but it's so convoluted trying to get back. There are many warp points and puzzles that you have to go through. This whole area dragged on, and it's just a miserable experience. It's not fun, and it's not needed. One of the biggest things that I noticed is that there's a lack of sound effects throughout the entire game. Some moments should have a huge impact with some great sound design, but they fall flat and silent. Just because the sound design is lacking doesn't mean it takes away from the design of the game. I felt that Final Fantasy XII, even back in 2006, is one of the best looking Final Fantasy games. Characters, ships, summons, and monster designs, even though they repeat a lot of the same monsters, just with color swaps, are all done beautifully. Overall, I really enjoyed replaying Final Fantasy XII. I didn't complete the original release, so beating it this time through was rewarding. As I was playing through it, I was trying to figure out exactly where I left off on the PS2 version, and remembering the areas as I went along. If you picked up this game either in 2006 or in 2017, it's still one of the most detailed and beautiful Final Fantasy games. I suggest that you pick up Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age. This glass of beer is legitimately the size of my face. Look at that. Huge. It's big. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you stick around, I'm going to be doing a review on Final Fantasy IX for the PS4. We'll catch you next time. Peace.